yoga teacher and pranic healer, Arhatic yoga practitioner from Bangalore. Apart from teaching yoga, I also love to talk about yogic philosophy and how we can use it in our daily lives, like really use it practically in our life challenges. So let me just begin with a prayer. Let's all bring our hands together, eyes gently closed. Relax your body. Relax your breath. Taking a deep breath in, exhaling to the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, to Master Chokok Sui, to Lord Mahaguruji Mailing. Thank you all for your priceless blessings. Thank you all for helping us gather here despite this pandemic, despite the lockdown. Thank you so much for technology being on our side. We're truly a blessed generation. Give us clarity, attention, and focus to understand today's teachings. These have been taken from the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the Vedas, the Upanishads, and Masters' books. Please bless us with your guidance and protection as we understand yoga. Taking a deep breath in and just blessing yourself and everybody in this group so that we have awareness and deep understanding as we go through this session. Gently open your eyes. All right, so I will just share my screen. Are you able to see my screen? Perfect. All right, so we gathered here to understand how pranic healing and yoga are complementary practices. Yes, all of us, I think most of us here are pranic healers, if not all. Maybe
all are pranic healers.
All of us are pranic healers, perfect. All right, so we know already how pranic healing can help us in our lives. Master has made it really, really practical. It's not just bookish knowledge. It's something we can apply on ourselves, on our families, on our environment, on situations, right? And because I had an understanding of pranic healing, I could have a deeper understanding of yoga. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. I used to be in a corporate job. I used to work in healthcare, IT, healthcare sales and marketing. So I was working with companies like GE, Religare, Fortis, etc. And while I was working with them, I realized like how much cost is just expended on back-end services, right? Maintaining a hospital, just maintaining factories of pharmaceutical industries. Then there are so many middlemen in the chain, and hence a patient has to pay the price for it, right? We all know how healthcare services are so expensive. And then I was introduced to pranic healing in 2015. As I started doing pranic healing, I was still in my corporate job. And in around 2018, I really had this longing to learn yoga. A friend of mine just happened to direct me to a teacher training course. I was like, fine, let's just take it up. It's not like I wanted to become a yoga teacher. But I went to this beautiful, wonderful yoga university. It's a world-class university of yoga. Luckily, it's in Bangalore. It's called Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anushadhana Sanstha, S. Vyasa University. You may have heard of it, which was founded by a NASA scientist, Dr. Nagendra. And believe me, when I entered my teacher training course, in the first 2-3 days, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. And it's because I could understand the deeper meaning of yoga just because I was a pranic healer. There were many other people in my batch. In fact, many people, when they see my posts or when they read what I post on my social media, they say that we can't believe that you've been doing yoga just for since 2018 or just for 2-3 years. I'm not bragging about myself, but I think a little bit of good self-esteem helps all of us. And I always tell them it's pranic healing that helped me understand yoga so deeply. So let's move on and understand a little bit more about this. Okay, so yoga and pranic healing, we know both of them are about the mind, the body, and the spirit, right? It's not just one entity. So let's do a quick experiment to understand this. I would urge all of you to please close your eyes. Sit straight. Just take a deep inhalation. Exhale. Your body is completely relaxed. Sit still. Now imagine that you are in a yoga class. Really imagine yourself there, right? There are other students around you. You're seated on the mat. There's your yoga teacher in front of you. Inhale and exhale. Now you're really going to imagine everything that I'm going to speak. Use your visualization skills. Now the teacher asks you to stand up. So imagine yourself standing. Lift your heels up and come up on your toes, everyone. Stretch your hands up. Balance on your toes. Stretch up, stretch. Now lift one leg and try balancing on just one leg on the toe. Very good. Keep balancing and stretching up. Hold that balance. All right. Hands down, feet flat on the mat, and gently open your eyes. So what just happened? Were you all able to feel it? Give me a quick thumbs up or hand raise. Yes? Yeah, did you feel the stretch? Did you feel yourself balancing a little bit? So this is what happens. Our mind-body complex is almost one unit, right? There's a beautiful book on yoga, which is one of the most traditional, it's one of the books from Bihar School of Yoga, which is a very reputed school. So in that book, Asana, Pranayama, Mudra, and Bandhas, they talk about how the mind is just the subtlest part of the body, and the body is just the grossest part of the mind. So it just means that your mind and body are the same. We just saw that now. What was playing in your mind, you could experience it in your body, although your body was not physically doing anything, right? We've heard this from our basic class instructors. They say that even if one arm is cut, the person still feels as if that arm is there, right? Because your mind still thinks you have an arm, even after the amputation. And there are many, many examples like this. So through yoga, when we do our physical practices of yoga, what happens is you're working on, say, strength, you're working on agility, you're working on stamina, flexibility. Same thing is happening in the mind. It's so obvious. Your mind is getting more flexible, your body is getting agile, your mind is also getting agile, dynamic, getting used to working faster and with more attention and focus. So every time you build your stamina, you're also building the stamina of the mind, which means you can get more done in lesser time. Yeah, what we do in the body reflects in the mind. What we do in the mind reflects in the body. Okay, moving on. Okay, so why yoga? Why not any other exercise, right? There's so many kinds of fitness practices, you know, Pilates, swimming, running, jogging. Yes, of course, you can do all of them, right? But it's just that with yoga, we've really integrated the mind, the breath, and the body together. It's just that the tradition has come down like that. But I would say that if you're not interested in yoga, please go ahead with your running the marathons or swimming, whatever you like, but find a good coach who can actually combine all these elements. So I have been with some excellent coaches. I used to be skating at the state level, and my skating coach was just excellent. Like, he used to actually combine all of these. Now when I look back, I feel that I was actually doing yoga. Yeah, because I was combining, like every time we bend, we slide, he used to tell, okay, feel the air, feel the breeze, use your aerodynamic body to move forward. That is just building awareness, using your mind while doing your physical action. Yeah, so it's just that in yoga there are many things that are integrated. Traditionally, for example, we also do yoga always barefoot and bare hands, right? Bare hands and barefoot. So when you press down, all of your chakras, as pranic healers, we know that we have chakras here, all of them get activated. Most of you might also be aware of acupuncturists, where they say all the body parts are in your hand. Master talks about this in the Super Brain Yoga book, right? There are even images where the foot has all the organs of the body. So when you press these down, all of them get activated. Your whole body gets activated. Therefore, yoga creates this conducive environment in your body and your mind for any spiritual practice or initiation. Probably Nina can vouch for this because she's been doing the yoga practices and soon doing the meditation thereafter. We've been doing this every weekday. Okay, so the Patanjali Yoga Sutra is one of the foremost texts on yoga, right? Of course, yoga has come way before this. It has been mentioned in the Rig Veda as well and many other Upanishads, right? But the Yoga Sutras is regarded as one of the most primitive texts. So the first Yoga Sutra says, Atha Yoga Anushasam. So the word here, Atha, which means now, right? Now, this word is of great significance. And if you actually see the actual Yoga Sutras, it just fits in one small page. There are 196 sutras. The entire work of yoga, whatever you learn today through whoever gurus, whatever poses you learn, everything, it beautifully fits on one page, right? Our ancestors were really good with brevity. Brevity means concising lots of information, power-packed information in a small place or a small book. We have seen how much Master's books also does this. Every time you read the book again, you get a different meaning. Why? Because there's so much power and energy in the book. As you grow, the book helps you at every step. So even the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, I should have put an image here. It's, those of you who are interested, you can write to me. I'll share the image. It's literally one page. Yeah, so Patanjali was brilliant. He was also, into Ayurveda, and he actually wrote the text on the grammar of Sanskrit. Right? So Atha, coming back to the sutra, means now. So the first statement, he says, yoga really brings us to the now, to the present moment. And that is where all the magic is. Yeah, that is what Master also says. Awareness. Awareness is one of the key things that we practice, whether it is in our Twin Hearts meditation, whether it is in the I Am prayer, right? We start with being aware of ourselves. In any yoga class that you go, you first bring your hands together, you're touching your thumb tips to your heart. That already is creating awareness, increasing your chakra of the heart. And then you do some breaths, increase awareness. You do a prayer, connects you to the energy, increases your awareness, and you come to the present moment. In fact, what you did, the experiment that you did, didn't it bring you to the present moment? And you didn't even do it physically. So imagine if you do physically, how much you can benefit. Did everybody forget the distraction at home, even for like few seconds? Yeah. Maybe you had kids running around, whatever sound around. Yeah. Thank you, Manoj, for the feedback. Thanks, Haripriya. All right. Now, what is this concept of oneness, right? When we come to the present moment, we truly feel one with our own self. And once we feel that oneness with ourselves, nobody can take it away from you. Believe me, nobody, no situation, no challenge in life can take this power away from you. It truly, truly brings you to the moment. And when that happens, when you become one with yourself, it's very easy to become one with the world around, right? So we have these terms here. It says, Aham Brahmasmi, I am the universe, right? Vasudev Kutumbakam. We are all one, we are all united, right? Even in the Bible, it says, heaven is not here, it's not there, it is within us. And through yoga, believe me, you see that reflection of God within you. And I'll show it to you during today's practice. After we finish the talk, we'll have a short practice of about 45 minutes. And I hope you can all experience a glimpse of that heaven within you with Master's blessings, hopefully. All right. So Master talks about yoga, right? Union. So those of you, if you've not done the Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul course, okay, this is the book. And in this book, Master talks about a story of the prodigal son, right? And then he talks about the meaning of yoga. He says yoga means union. What is this union? Union of our incarnated soul with the higher soul. Union of our present, current selves with our higher self. Yeah. Now in yoga, we know that the actual word yoga came upon much later. It was earlier called yuj. Yuj is a Sanskrit word. This is the root word, and this means to unite, right? So basically, they're trying to say that the body unites with the mind then unites with the spirit. Now, do you think Master here is really talking about yoga as the physical asanas? Yeah, it can't be that shallow, right? It's not just the physical asanas. So what is yoga then? What is yoga? Is it the pranayama practice that we do? Is it the breath work? Many people experience healing through yoga. Their pains disappear. Is it just a healing modality? Or many, accomplished people, they say it's a way of life, right? I'm a yogi. So yogic way of living, yogic way of eating, sattvic food, etc. So is it a way of life? Right? The answer lies here in the previous slide. Master said it means union. So let's understand this deeper. How can we experience this union practically? Okay, so we have the Ashtanga Yoga tree here, right? The Ashtanga Yoga is nothing but the 8 limbs of yoga. Patanjali talks about this in his Yoga Sutras, right? So just imagine a tree, a nice, big, healthy tree, right? The roots or the foundation of the tree is really your yamas and your niyamas. Those of you who've just completed the basic pranic healing course or just the healing courses that we have, when you move on to your Arhatic Yoga, then Master talks about these character building. In fact, it's even there in your basic pranic healing book right at the back. It's also there in this Achieving Oneness book that I just showed you, right? The character building is a part, it's very similar to the yamas, and he actually goes into a little more depth of how we can practically apply these yamas and niyamas in our life, right? Now, these are the roots, these are the values. If you can see, yamas, it says restraints, what we should not do. Niyamas are observances, which we should do. So the yamas, ahimsa, satya, brahmacharya. So these are things like non-harming, non-lying, right? Non-stealing. All of these are things we should be practicing, more so in challenging times like today with the pandemic, with the coronavirus. Are we practicing these? Niyamas are things we should do. Cleanliness, saucha, santosha, having contentment, right? Swadhyaya, which is self-study. All of these things form our foundation for our life. Next, we move on to the bark of the tree, which is the asanas or the postures. Now, can you see in this entire scheme of things, asana is just one minuscule portion. It's just one of the angas, or it's just one of the limbs of yoga. So all the people who put up fancy yoga postures and do complicated yoga postures, they need not have to be yogis. They have to practice all of these 8 limbs. That's why as pranic healers, we are so blessed, because we're already practicing all of these, right? Even the asanas, what Master teaches us, the physical exercises, those are actually asanas. They're sukshma vyayam. Okay, I'll talk more about that when we're doing our practice. Okay, next we move on to the branches and the leaves, right? Now these are the branches are holding the breath, right? Your branches actually signify your lungs, right? The branches of your lungs, and they are breathing, right? The leaves are breathing. They provide the fuel for the tree. They create the photosynthesis, right? Similarly, our breath is actually the fuel for our body. Most of you would have heard of breatharians, right? This man who just passed away, I'm forgetting his name, right? The Jain person above 76 who was living on no food or no water. Can we go without food for a few days? Of course, yes. Water for a day or two? Yeah, you can. Breath? Why don't you skip 10 breaths and see what happens? Yeah. So this is the fourth limb of yoga, pranayama. That's why we practice it in every yoga class. Next is pratyahara. This is just a beautiful concept, one of my favorite actually. And this I really understood thanks to pranic healing only, right? Pratyahara is about moving all your sense organs inward, right? These are called indriyas. Our sense organs are called indriyas. So all of the sense organs are always bound outwardly. You know, I see something beautiful, I want it. I eat something wonderful, I want to eat it again. I hear something, you know, yeah. So pranic healing has always taught us about discipline, about moderation, right? How to actually use our senses, use our body, use our healing energies for the right purpose. Conserve enough energy, just use it whenever required. So pratyahara is similar. Use your senses only when you need to really use them. Just don't leave them like free horses, right? So for example, you go to a mall, right? You just go window shopping. You're not even shopping. You talk to the mall, you know, sales staff. You're, you know, going with a friend. You're eating this and that. You're talking the whole time, and you come back home and you're feeling tired already, right? We also know it's because of all the thought forms and everything, but it's also because your senses have just indulged, you know, more than normal. You come back home and you're tired. Did you lift bricks? Did you do some weight training? Did you run? No, right? So we need to move our senses inwards. In fact, this is the first step to meditation. And Master has beautifully integrated this in our twin hearts itself. Yeah. First, you do the prayer, the divine energy comes in, it removes all of the negativity, right? So it's easier for you to focus in. And how do we focus inward? We just think of a happy moment. When you think of a happy moment, the same thing happens, like the exercise the experiment we did in the beginning. You completely get lost in that happy moment. Your eyes are seeing it, your ears are hearing that moment, you're living that moment. So all of your senses draw inward. Isn't it such a beautiful, such a easy way to do such difficult things? And we don't even realize that Master has, you know, created these for us. And then to further amplify it, we think of another happy moment using the crown. Yeah. Now this helps us move towards the next limb. Once our senses are inward, only then we can concentrate or even attempt to concentrate. Yeah. What is concentration? Concentration is like that intense focus. Okay. Have you seen your kids playing playing the tab, you know, or on games or something? You can keep calling their name, but they're like not even listening to you. Yeah. That is that intense concentration. Yeah. The next one is dhyana or meditation. Right. So they say that this dharana or concentration is actually like the bud on the tree of before the flower blooms, right? It is your initial step to meditation. And then you move on to dhyana. Dhyana is this beautiful word that has traveled the world from India, right? It moved during the Buddhist era, it moved to South China, and it was called Shan. Then it moved to Korea, it was called Tien. In Vietnamese, the name changed again. Finally, it moved to Japan, and Japan really popularized it, calling it Zen. So dhyana is actually Zen. Yeah. What exactly is dhyana? So dhyana actually is concentration along with awareness. Concentration along with awareness. So an example that I can give you is, I just spoke to you about your kid, you know, who's engrossed into his video game or his game on the tab. Now you're calling out to him, you're saying, Beta, come eat your food, do this. He's not even, they're not even listening. He or she is just so engrossed. That is only concentration without awareness. They are not aware of, who's calling them out, what they need to do. They're only worried about what is in front of them, the game. Now, what do we do in driving or riding? If you're riding a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, right? You're concentrated on the road in front of you. At the same time, you have awareness of what is happening around, right? Is there a police guy? Is there a signal? Is there somebody speeding from the side? Did an accident happen here? You're aware of the sounds, right? That is actually dhyana. Dhyan. We all experience dhyan in different tasks throughout the day. For example, even when you're cooking, or actually we should experience in every task in our day, but we don't do every task. If we do every task like that, then you can really touch gold. This is something my husband tells me, that whatever you do, touch gold with it. It's very, very difficult to practice. Yeah. Now moving on, samadhi. Samadhi is oneness. Yeah, samadhi is oneness. So in yoga, they say these three steps, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. All these three steps together are meditation. Again, Master talks about it in this beautiful book. He talks about dharana, dhyana, samadhi as well. And he gives you the detailed explanation of it, right? Samadhi is nothing but bliss. It's that intense bliss. And each one of us has experienced samadhi. It could be for a fraction of a second, but you have experienced samadhi. How is that? Just remember the time when you eat your favorite dessert, when you ate your favorite dessert, and you just went like, it's really wonderful. Yeah, that fraction of a second you have experienced samadhi. When you see your child smiling or playing or doing something awesome, that proudness that you feel in your heart, like, wow, like I feel so happy. That bliss feeling, super happy feeling, that is samadhi. We also feel it when probably we're watching a cricket match or something very, very patriotic. Yeah, all these things you feel, which are not just for your thing. It's, you have no benefit out of it, right? It's happening around, but you're feeling happy, you're feeling it for somebody else. Like, it's compassion. It's, you don't have any greed in it. Yeah, that is called samadhi. So this is the Ashtanga yoga. This is one of the aspects of yoga. What I'm trying to explain through this to you all is that the physical practice of yoga is a very small part of yoga, right? But this small part can actually take us higher and higher. Without understanding this small part, it becomes difficult. Now take the example of this tree, the bark. Can the tree be without the bark? Is it possible? No. Similarly, can you exist without your body? Physical practices is the body. Yes, breath is very important. The leaves are very important. The branches are important. Blooming flower, everything is important, right? I forgot to mention this. Dhyana is the flower. After dharana, which is a bud, it blooms into a flower when you have awareness. That's why in a flower you see very small details, right? The stamen, the stigma, the reproductive parts of the flower are really tiny and detailed. God has put a lot of attention and awareness to it. Then is samadhi. Samadhi is actually the fruit of all the labor you have done down, right? The roots have worked on it, the bark has worked on it, branches, leaves, everything has worked. Then the tree will give you the fruit. You don't get the fruit just like that. So you have to practice all these values, asanas, pranayam, meditation, then you will get some fruit. Yeah. So can we do without the trunk? Coming back to this, can you imagine the tree without the trunk? In fact, the leaves and all shed seasonally, right? And they grow back again, but the trunk stays strong. So you need to keep this physical body strong. Have you noticed yourself when you fall sick? Do you feel like doing anything? Even if they bring the best food in front of you, even if God comes in front of you, you might feel like you're so tired, your body is just not supporting you. Yeah, that is the importance of yoga asanas. Moving on, there's a different division of yoga by the Bhagavad Gita, or in the Bhagavad Gita, right? And this is again beautifully combined by Master. So actually master has really, he calls the Arhatic yoga a synthesis of yogas. Those of you who are more interested about it, do check with Nina, check with other, check with your foundations about when is the next Arhatic yoga course. It is just beautiful. It will change your life. So what master has intelligently done and made it so simple for us, he has combined both these things just enough, just for us to get started and actually go on that zoom. Like, you could go to the moon, uh, probably flying in the air or whatever, but this is like a rocket that takes you straight up. Like, it's like the spaceship. So he has combined the Ashtanga yoga and the Bhagavad Gita yogas into a synthesis and called it Arhatic yoga. Yeah. So in Bhagavad Gita, what do we have? We have the Karma Yoga. All of us know this. I'm not going to delve too much into it. It's the path of action. We've all heard enough of this in pranic healing. Then is the Jnana Yoga, path of knowledge. So can you achieve union through each one of this? You can do just one of this and achieve union. Similarly, even in this previous slide, you can, they say in Yama, just in Yama, one single, you pick up anything, pick up ahimsa, pick up satya, do it 100% to the T. Everything else will come to you automatically. You don't have to work towards it. If you have to do it 100%, from today, if you do non-harming, ahimsa to not to others, not to your own family, not to yourself, not even in words, not in speech, not in thought also. You should not have even one negative thought or one harming thought. Then that's it. You're a yogi already. All the other things will just come to you. Similarly, in this Bhagavad Gita, so you just do karma yoga. You've seen Mother Teresa. She used to only serve people. And she was a true yogi. You don't have to practice physical asanas really, but I'm sure she used to keep herself fit. Imagine if she was working with so many leprosy patients and had such awesome, strong immunity. Of course, behind the scenes she'll be working, but her main path was karma yoga, jnana yoga, path of knowledge. Swami Vivekananda, he took this path, right? He wrote so many books. He traveled the world to speak about it. Before he passed away just at 36 or 37, can you believe what a legend he became in just mid-30s because of Jnana Yoga? Bhakti Yoga, right? Bhakti Yoga, the gopis, the gopikas, or Meera, who used to sing for Krishna Bhagwan, right? That is the path of devotion. You don't care about anything. You've seen these ISKCON people, they're just happily dancing, and all these, Firangs and Angres and, people come from around the world, and they're just like blissfully dancing. They don't care what's happening around. They're just like so happy. So that is Bhakti Yoga. You can achieve union even through Bhakti Yoga. Next is Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga is path of discipline. Again, master has integrated this. Okay, do your meditations every day. When you go to Arhatic Yoga, you have different types of meditations that you do every day. Just like how we have, if you've done advanced pranic healing, we do a self-cleansing meditation, right? How do you discipline yourself? There are other courses in pranic healing which talk about this, right? Spiritual business management. Yeah, we talk about Raja Yoga, right? Many wonderful people. Abdul Kalam used this approach. Mahatma Gandhi used this approach. Yeah, they were all yogis, right? They may not come across as, like physical asana yoga practitioners now. So how do we actually attain yoga through, attain union through yoga? Let us see now with our physical practice. This is a beautiful quote I'd like to leave you with by B.K. Iyengar. He's one of my favorite yoga gurus. I practice Hatha yoga and Iyengar yoga. And he has transformed so many lives and continues to transform lives through his books, through his YouTube videos, even though he's left his physical body, right, from across the world. In fact, I think he is probably one of the most transformational people who took yoga to the world. Yeah. So he says, yoga is like music, is the rhythm of the body, the melody of the mind, and the harmony of the soul. It creates a symphony of life. And it literally, if you start practicing yoga, I don't know how much you're going to feel in today's practice, but believe me, Try 1 to 3 months of yoga. Probably towards the end, or maybe even now, people who've been practicing yoga with me in the morning, if some of you are here, Haripriya, probably I can't read the other names, you know, maybe Nina, y'all can, you know, y'all can tell if you experienced a little amount of bliss, a little better understanding of your body, a little stronger mind, you know, every time you held a pose for a little longer, every time you pushed yourself, did you become stronger in the mind? Was your day more smoother, more better? You had irritation, frustration in the day, no maid, I have to do extra work, but did your body and mind give you the strength to do that work? Yeah, you can share your testimonials, yeah, so that the others can benefit from it. So this is how it creates a beautiful symphony of life. Okay, so let's all get started. Let's you know, roll out our mats. Let me put my mat together as well. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Oh, I have another screen here. I have another quote here. I'm going to leave the details of the yoga batch here, and we can you can take a look at it later on. Okay. Okay. So as you roll out your mats, one important thing, please, we are a big crowd today, 27, 30 people, 30 people. I cannot see each one of you individually. We're doing it online. Please exercise caution. If you have, you know, back problems, knee problems, I will tell you, you know, not to do certain asanas, but today what I've put together is something that everybody can practice. It's a much smoother, softer flow, but I really want you to experience the mind through the body and the breath.
So we just take a minute, everyone can prepare themselves.
Sure.
It would be good if everyone could have their videos on, at least, you know, then, though we are a big group, and but then at least she'll be able to see, just in case you're doing something wrong.
Drastically wrong, yes. Thanks, Nina. Yeah. Try to keep your cameras about 10 feet away from you. 10 feet away from you. So Nina, the session is till 9:30, right? We have about 45 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, everyone almost ready. I urge you all to please turn on your cameras if you're comfortable. It's okay if you're in your pajamas. Absolutely okay. No one is judging here. We're all on our paths to become yogis. Okay, let's come to sitting. Let's get comfortable on the mat. I'm going to give it another minute for everybody to settle down. We have a lot to understand and practice, so it will help if you can. All right. So sit in any comfortable position, just sitting cross-legged. This is called Sukhasana. Those of you who cannot sit down, then you can just sit on something at a little height, like you use a pillow or something down. For any seating asanas, just sit on a pillow or something hard like a yoga brick. Okay, so I'm not going to check the messages now. Somebody put something on the chat. We'll take it towards the end of the class. If you feel any pain, right, please stop the yoga practice, because I will need to guide you personally. All right, I don't want you to injure or hurt yourself. If you feel a slight pain, like a sweet pain, because you know you've not exercised for long and you know it's the sweet pain, that's all right. Okay, palms facing upwards on your thigh. Gently closing the eyes. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Being aware of the physical body. With your eyes closed, let's try and notice the room around us. Just notice the objects in the room, the walls, the colors. As pranic healers, you can even feel the energy in the room. Just try to focus on the empty space in the room and you'll feel the energy. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to scan. We've been initiated by Master to feel energy. Have a pleasant face, maybe a gentle smile. Now try and listen to the sounds around you. Any sounds at your home, even if it's distracting sounds, where you're going to use this distraction to our advantage, sharpening our sense of hearing. Listen to all the sounds around you. Be aware, be cognizant. Keep the back straight, chin up. The chin is slightly up and the shoulders are rolled back and relaxed. So notice how you bring the physical awareness to your own body by just sitting straight, by having the spine straight. And your eyeballs are looking inward. Your eyeballs are in the socket, looking inward towards your heart. Notice any movement in the heart region, in the belly region. Slowly focusing on our breath, shifting the focus to our breath. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, letting go. Inhaling, drawing all the positive healing energies. It energizes your body. Exhaling, releasing anything unwanted. Bring your hands to heart center. Thumb tips on the heart. Gently, you can bow down, chin slightly down. I'm going to chant the Patanjali mantra. Om Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacha Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopakarotam Pravaram Munina Patanjalin Pranjalir Ranatosmi. Gently bow down, look at the floor in front of you, a few blinks, and gently look up. Bowing down to the Atma in me, to the Atma in all of you. Like we say in pranic healing, Atma Namaste. Let's begin our practice. All right. We're going to start with Sukshma Vyayam. Sukshma means subtle. Vyayam is exercise. So Sukshma Vyayam means subtle exercises that we start to loosen our joints, to just get the muscles a little moving, right? To get the muscles active and to get the blood flow going in the body, right? We'll start with the eye exercises. So you're going to squeeze your eyes completely. Completely squeeze the eyes. You can watch me once probably. Yeah, just watch the screen once. I'm going to squeeze the eyelids, activating the muscles around my eyes. The rest of the face is pleasant. And then I'm opening my eyes wide, looking at a fixed point in front of me. Let's do this. Let's begin. Everybody close the eyelids tight. Activate those muscles. the nerves around the eyes that supply all the blood and the energy to the eyes, the signs from the brain, and open the eyes looking at a point in front of you. Stare, do not blink, gazing at a fixed point. Again, close the eyes tight, close the eyelids a little tighter this time, engage those eye muscles, open the eyes looking at a point in front of you. A very interesting trivia. Do you know that the eye muscles are 8 times more stronger than the other parts of the body, the muscles in the other parts of the body? Yeah, it's because we use the eyes a lot. Can you imagine how many times you blink your eye in the day? Imagine doing your hand like this so many times in the day. Your hand is going to get tired, but the eyes don't get tired. The eye muscles are very, very strong. All right, now another eye exercise. Just bring your forefinger in front of your nose, slightly away from the nose, about 1 inch away. Just watch me in the screen. I'm just going to move this hand away, straightening the elbow, bringing it back together. So when I move away, I'm going to notice that the hand just merges with the background. It's becoming a part of the background. When I bring it closer, I'm focusing on the fingertips. So the background becomes hazy, blurred. It gets defocused. Only this is in my focus. Okay, let's begin. Focus defocusing exercise. Everybody bring the fingertip in between your eyebrows, 1 inch away from the nose. Move the hand away from you. Notice the whole wall in front of you. Bring the finger close, noticing the fingertip away from you. Bring it close. All the time you're staring at the fingertip. Moving it away, bringing it close. All your attention is focused on the fingertip. One last time, slowly moving it away. And as you bring it closer, notice how the background automatically defocuses. Release. Isn't it beautiful? Right? In a camera, if you need to focus and defocus, you know how much energy it takes, right? You need to charge your camera. It creates that sound and that zooey sound at the back, right? Your eyes are doing it all the time, automatically. Yeah, the eye is perhaps the most complex camera which we're not able to replicate still, not even any robots. Okay, now for some neck exercises. So interlock your fingers and place it on your right ear like this. And bend the right ear completely to the left side. Slight pressure on your head. The ear is coming close to the shoulder. Left ear is coming close to the left shoulder. Lift the chin up slightly and come back to center. Shift your hand to the left ear. Bend over to the right side. Right ear on right shoulder. Press down. Use a little bit of pressure. These simple exercises can do a lot of goodness, relieve a lot of stress. You must already be feeling it. Place your interlocked fingers on your forehead. Push it back. Push it back. Spread the elbows wide. Use a little bit of pressure. Feel the stretch in the throat. Come back to center. Place these interlocked fingers behind on your back head chakra. Bend down, chin towards the chest. You should feel it in the upper back. I am the body. Be aware of your physical body as you do these exercises. Release. Release. Okay. Again, a very simple exercise. You're going to use your chin to draw a circle. So draw a big circle in front of you as if your chin is a pencil and you're drawing it on a paper. So 1, 2. Now reverse, stabilize your head. You might feel a little bit dizziness. Okay, begin. Reverse circle. 1 and 2. Turn completely to your right side. Now imagine there's a paper here, right plane, and draw again with your chin a circle. Do not bring the chin forward like this. The paper is here, so you have to draw it here. This will be a small circle. So draw 1, 2, 3. Reverse. 1, 2, 3. Turn to the left side. Again, do the same. Drawing a circle. 1, 2, 3. Reverse. 1, 2, 3. Relax. Okay, just loosen the head, loosen the neck. Relaxing. Okay, for the shoulders, let's up the pace a little bit. So bring your hands out wide. Bringing your hands out wide. Let's go 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Increase the pace. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Keep your fingers stiff. Fingers pointing upward and sideward. Don't keep your hands loose. Strengthen the arms. Up, down, up, down. Keep going faster. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. Relax. Stretch the arms out. Release. Again, bringing the arms out. Okay. Nobody stops. Everybody can do this exercise. Feel as if somebody's pulling you on either side. Arms are strong. You feel like pulling. When you feel that pull, you will feel the strength here, right? Okay, now using this strength or tension in the arms, swing in circles as if you're flying. Fast circles, faster, faster, faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. Small circles, keep reversing. 10, 9, 8, 7, faster. 3, 2, 1. Okay, release. Stretch the arm out. Again to the side. Let's make bigger circles. Big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bigger. 6, 7, 8. Reverse. Bigger. Reverse circles. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Release. All right. Now we're done with the shoulders. We're just going to do a little bit for the shoulder blades. Bring your right hand up, stretch it up, okay, and bend it. Your palm comes on the opposite shoulder. Hold on to this elbow and pull to the other side. Your elbow should come in the middle of the head. Elbow should touch the back head chakra. Don't drop the chin down. Push the head. The head should be pushing the hand. Look up straight. Chin up. Keep pulling this elbow with your left hand. Pull the elbow to the left side. Pull, pull, pull. Head pushes back the elbow. Release. Left hand comes up. Left hand up. Drop it to your right side. Right hand is on the left elbow. Right hand on the left elbow. Pull to the right side. Again, elbow is on the back head chakra. Push the head back. Chin up. Keep pulling the elbow. Feel that good stretch even in the side of the trunk. You should feel it even here. Releasing. Releasing. Okay. A little bit of exercise for the back. So please place your palms on the knee. Keep a little wide stance of the knee. Just widen the legs a little bit. Both your feet on the ground. Now, we're going to do circles with the upper body. Start with small circles. When you go forward, your chest is outward like this. Push the chest outward. When you go back, curl your spine. So forward, back, forward, back, forward and back. Let's go for 3 more rounds. 3. Inhale, forward, exhale, back. Inhale, forward, exhale, curl the spine. Inhale, chest comes out, exhale, round the spine. Reverse circles. Let's go for reverse circles, opposite direction. Again, the chest out and curl back. It's okay if your hip lifts up a little bit, your knees lift up a little bit. 3 more. So inhale, exhale, curl. Inhale, forward, exhale, backward. Inhale, exhale, release. Okay, just 2 rounds of big circles, clockwise and anti-clockwise. So when you do big circles, your chest should come close to the knee, chin should come close to the mat. Then again, left knee up. Let's do this together. Let's start from the left side. So bend over to the left, chest on left knee, chin on the ground, chest on the right knee, and curl the spine. Let's go for 1 more round. Left knee, chin down on mat, right knee, curl up. Come to neutral. Let's go in the opposite direction. Chest on right knee, chin on the mat, left knee up, right knee, chin on mat, left knee up, release. Okay, everybody seated. Use your fingertips, okay, like a tiger crawling. Place it behind your hips, like about 1 feet, 2 feet away, 1.5, 2 feet away, and press into the mat, press into the mat. Your chest automatically comes up. Push this chest, lungs out, 100% utilization of lung capacity. Drop the head back. Deep inhalation. Breathe normally. Push the chest up, shoulders go back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Press the fingertips into the mat. Chest up, up, up. Release, relax. Okay, beautiful. Let's come up to standing. Let's come up to standing. A little bit of leg movement. Everybody, take the legs slightly apart. Take the legs slightly apart. Just gentle movement side to side, very gentle. Especially if you have knee pain, just go as much as you can. Those of you who don't have knee pain can go slightly lower. Toes are pointed outward. Toes are pointed in the oblique direction. You can even use your hand like this. Okay, release, release. Okay, now hold on to your knee, hug your knee towards the chest. Hug the knee towards the chest, right leg. Okay, now with this hugging, if you need to hold on to a wall, you can hold on to a wall also. Okay, or rest your hips behind a wall. Now, let's do some ankle rotation in the standing posture. Rotate your right ankle. Rotate your right ankle clockwise, anti-clockwise now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Pull the knee up, left knee up towards your chest and ankle. Rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Big circles anti-clockwise. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Okay, everybody. Now we're going to be doing, come to the middle of your mat. Come to the middle of the mat. And we're going to be now doing the Stula Vyayam. It's also called Sthitila Vyayam. Sthitila means dynamic. Stula means gross. So it's gross exercise or dynamic exercise. We just finished our subtle exercises. Now we're going to a dynamic exercise. Right? So this will increase the blood flow. It will increase the heart rate. It is like a yogic cardio. What we did before is like a yogic warm up. Okay. So now just come to jogging. Just come to jogging. And jog sidewards. Move sidewards as you jog to one end of the mat to the other end of the mat. Small steps, but fast steps. Faster, faster, faster. Jog faster. You should feel a vibration in this stomach area, abdomen area. Faster, faster, faster. Move those legs faster. Go fast. Even faster. Even faster. Even faster. Good. One more round. To the left, to the right. Come to the middle of your mat. Continue jogging, continue jogging. Now we're gonna kick higher. Kick high, move to the side. Kick high and move to the side. How much ever you can. Those who have knee pain, just jog or march fast. Those who have knee pain can march. Okay, rest of you. One more round, up, 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 up to the side. Release, come back to center. Okay, now again, light jogging, just 30 more seconds of cardio. Kick back, kick, heel to butt, heel to butt. Fast, fast, fast. Kick, kick, kick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we're just going to do 5 side kicks. Right hand comes up. You're going to kick forward. Everybody, let's begin. Right hand up, kick the right palm with your toes. Up, up, up. 4, 5. Left hand up. Let's kick up. 1, 2, 3. Kick higher. 4, 5. Release. Release. Okay. You can place your hands on your waist. Bend over. Round your mouth. Round your lips. Exhale through the mouth. Or you can leave your hands hanging loose. Inhale through the nostril, exhale through the mouth. Don't inhale through the mouth, it will dry your mouth up. You'll feel like having water. Just release the hands down. Now, we're going to be doing our asanas. Asanas, the first asana we'll do is just the dole asana to relax ourselves. So, elbows held together, forearms are parallel to the floor. Just bend over. If you have high BP, don't do this for too long, just do it for 5 seconds. And swing around your left knee, right knee. Slight bend in the knees is okay. Keep pushing the forearm down, push the forearm down, and just swing sideways. Sideways, relaxing. Okay, now center, and just lunge down like this. If you have lower back pain, don't go too low. Just go as much as you can. You will feel the stretch in the back of the legs, your hamstring, your calf muscles above and below the back of the knee. Release, gently come up, gently come up. Okay. Now that your body is warmed up and now that you've centered yourself, you have realized you are the body. We're going to focus a little bit on how the body uses the mind while we're doing menial physical tasks, like just following instructions and doing easy exercises. Your mind gets sharpened even with this. Okay, any action that you do mindfully, or rather any neutral or positive action that you do mindfully, you're developing awareness. It could be cooking, it could be, teaching somebody or anything. Driving. Now, everybody, lift your toes up. Lift your toes up like this. I'm just showing it to you close by. Only lifting the toes up. Your mound of the feet and the heel of the feet is on the ground. Okay. So lift the toes up. Bring the feet together. Inner edge of the feet touching. Press the mounds and increase the arch. Pull that mound of the foot. Bring your toes closer to the heel. Increase the arch of this foot. If you notice the shape of the foot, right? If you don't have flat foot or if there is no deformity, it is like the shape of the spine, isn't it? So they say that if this arch is right, you don't get back pain. The reason being, we all know as pranic healers, you have the sciatic nerve here. The sciatic nerve extends till the foot. So actually, if your feet are proper, you'll have strong legs, you'll have a strong back. And if you have a strong spine, only then you have a good brain. Otherwise, whatever the brain does, it has to come in through the spine to the rest of the body, right? All the work that happens in the brain, it sends the signals through the spine. So spine is very important. For that, we need to keep our feet properly. So pull, coming back to this now, increasing that arch and pressing the mound and the heel down. Now slowly drop those toes down. Slowly drop the toes down. Your feet are flat on the floor. Now look up, look up. Press the feet down. Keep pressing the feet down. Notice that your thighs become tight. The thighs squeeze in together as you press the feet into the ground. Your glutes or your hips squeeze in together, inward. They squeeze in. Your back automatically becomes straight. Lift up from the waist and stretch your hand up. Stretch the hand up. Keep pressing the feet down and affirm, I am grounded into Mother Earth. I am firmly rooted in my own self. Release your hands. Now check if you're using all the 4 parts of your feet. Which 4 parts? Front part, your toes. Back part, your heels. The side part, outer edge, and the inner edge. Are you using all the 4 parts properly? Now you're ready to do the asanas. Okay. So now we bring the feet together and we're going to bring our hands in Namaskar Asana. And very gently, just bring the hand up. Just listen to the instructions, follow the instructions. You can do it along with me. Lift the hands up in Namaskar Asana. Your biceps or the inner side of the arm is touching the ear. Lift up, interlock the fingers. Okay. Push the palms upward. Rotate your wrist and push the palms upward. So I'm rotating the wrist. My wrist is like this, right? I'm going to rotate it upwards. Stretch, 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 stretch. The more you stretch up, the more you press down into the earth. Push up, feel the stretch of the arms. Gently bend over to the right side, keeping that interlock. Feel the stretch on the left side of the body. Bend over to the right side, sidewards, not forwards like this, sidewards. Come back to center. Bend over to the left side. Do your best. Don't just bend over for the heck of it. Bend further down, further down. Come back. Release. Release. If you did it properly, you should already feel the sweat. It's not that simple asanas don't cause, many people say in yoga, it's very slow, we don't sweat, but then it tones your body. It really works on the entire body. Now, we'll do a very popular asana, which is called the Vriksha Asana. This is how it's going to look, which is the tree pose. You can bring your right foot on your left shin, like this. Knee is outward. Or you can bring it up towards your groin. You can do it along with me, but I will again repeat. This is just a demonstration. I will repeat for all of us to do together. See, if I extend my right hand up, and if I put it down, it should fall on my knee. Knee should not be like this, oblique. Okay. Another important thing, do not put it on your knee. You're going to damage the knee. Put it lower or above the knee. Can you see? Below the knee or above the knee. Okay, you can hold on to a wall. You can hold on to a wall or have a wall support behind you. Bring your hands to heart center. Let's all do it together, okay? So wherever, if you're a beginner, keep the standing leg stable. Standing leg stable. Okay. Okay, now this foot, toes should not be outward like this, toes pointing downward. Okay. It's a slightly, challenging asana for beginners, but it's a beautiful asana, helps us focus, concentrate. It's a wonderful asana to teach your kids. Okay. Those of you who can, a little challenging, take your hand up. Push the hand up, push the leg down, keep pushing the standing leg down, down. Manoj, please don't place your leg on the knee. Manoj, your leg is on the knee. Foot is on the knee. All right, lift it up. And again, let's do it on the left side. Left leg up, hands to heart center. Those of you who can, lift up. Murali also, leg is coming on the knee. Lift up. Release. Okay, you can all practice this. You can all practice this at home. So if you stare at a point in front of you when you're doing this, if you stare at a fixed point in front of you, the drishti, if the drishti is fixed, then you will find the balance easier. I can do anything with my hands. I can do anything with my upper body and I will not fall. Your eyes, of course, it will come with practice. Okay, so good exercise. You can all teach it to, you know, your family and your kids. For kids, it's excellent because it helps them focus, concentrate. It helps them be more attentive. Make them do it 5 minutes each leg. Okay. Okay, so this actually reminds me of one of the quotes by Master, right? The main thing about this asana is not this leg, not the bent leg, it's the standing leg. The more you push the standing leg, the foundation is strong. So one of the quotes, he says that the deeper the foundation, the taller the building. Yeah. So the energy is actually going down. When you're pressing down, you're pushing the energy into the gravity. Then gravity becomes, it helps you to become lighter and it helps you hold your own body. That's when you can become taller. Taller as in be tall from the waist up. Release. Okay. Okay, next asana. Keep your feet out wide. Say about 3.5 feet wide. Right foot points to the right side. I hope you can all see my mat. Yeah. Okay. Right foot points to the right side. And inhale, bring your hands up. You can do it along with me. Exhale, just shift the upper body to the right side. Shift your upper body to the right. Your pelvis is facing forward, okay? The chest is facing forward. Now, exhale, bend over. Hold either just below the knee, your shin, or hold your ankle. Those of you who feel flexible can go lower and place the hand on the mat. But make sure your chest is facing the screen or the wall in front of you. Chest is actually trying to turn upward. When you try to turn the chest upward, you get this good twist. And you look at the fingertips of the left hand upward towards the ceiling. Look at the thumb of the left hand. Hold it here for a few seconds. We just held it for 30 seconds, 10 more. And inhale, come up. Okay, right foot turns forward, left foot turns to the left side. Hands come up, pelvis facing forward. Upper body shifts to the left side. And exhale, bend over. Bend over, hold on to the ankle or below the knee. Slight bend in the knee is all right. Once you find your balance, look at the thumb tip of the right hand. Keep moving the chest up towards the ceiling. Get the twist from your hip region. In the side of your waist, you'll feel a twist this side. 30 seconds up, 10 more, breathe normally. See what's happening in your body, be aware. Feel the stretches in different parts and gently come up. Inhale, release, release, okay? All of these asanas, try to feel, bring that awareness to each body part. Something that you've not worked on for a long time. Maybe the back of your legs, maybe the hamstring, maybe the back is tight. You're loosening it up. Same way your mind is getting loosened up, right? Let's come to sitting. So we'll come on our fours. Those who have knee problem or knee injury, then you can just double your mat like this. Double the mat like this so that it's soft. Okay, now Wrists are above the shoulders is below above the wrist. Okay, align properly. Hip and knee are in one line. You can watch me first and then do it. Okay. Now I'm going to concave the back. Push the belly down, make this curvature of the back. Lift the head up as I inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to touch the chin to the chest and push the spine up towards the ceiling. Let's all practice together. Everybody neutral spine. Let's do this together. Push the belly down, lift the head up. Inhale. Chin to chest, pushing the spine up. Exhale. Pushing the belly down, concave back, look up. Inhale, lift the chin, lift the chin. Press the chin down to the chest. Exhale, spine up. Push the spine up. Inhale, belly down, look up. Exhale, chin to chest, spine up. One last time. Inhale, up. Exhale, chin to chest. Release. Okay, let's come down to sitting. Everybody sit in Dandasana. This is called the Dandasana. Legs stretched out. Again, those of you who cannot sit down, place a pillow here, small pillow on your hip. Okay, now press the thighs down into the mat. Press the calves down into the mat. Have these toes pointing towards you. Toes are strong, active legs. Active legs. Don't leave the legs loose. When you point the legs, it becomes active. Now inhale, take your hand up. Now watch me. As I exhale, I'm going to bend straight with my straight back. I'm not taking my head down. Okay, just take the chest forward, chin up, trying to reach your hands down like this. Push the belly should rest on this one, on the thighs. And then after you fully come down, last you're going to drop the head. Let's do this together. I'll give the instructions. Take the hands up as you inhale. Stretch out, stretch the sides of the trunk, hold the stretch and bend forward straight, chest up, chin up. Chest looking up, chin looking up. Place the full belly button on your thigh, abdomen on the thigh. Knees are coming close to the chest. Hold wherever you can. You can hold under your knees, hold on to the ankle. Or hold on to the ankle or hold on to the feet. Okay, and now just do this motion. Bend the elbows like this or like this. Push, push, push down, keeping the chin up, chin up. Only then your back is straight. Push down, push down. You'll feel the stretch in the back of your legs. Okay, now finally, once you're here, body is loosened up. Now drop the head down completely. Pushing the chest towards the knees, not the head down. Head is just down, but you're trying to push the chest towards the knee. Open the elbows outward, pull your legs in. Bend over, release, relax, come up. Wonderful. Just move the knees up and down. Move the knees up and down. Now everybody, you're going to come down to lying on your spine and you're going to place your right hand on the belly button, left hand on the chest. All right. Let's all lie down on the mat. Legs are stretched out. They're slightly wide. Drop your toes to the sides like this. And hands facing up towards the ceiling, slightly away from your hip. Shavasana. The previous asana we did is Paschimottanasana. Relaxing the body. Relaxing the spine. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now bring your right hand on the belly button or slightly above the belly. Left hand on your chest, but my elbows are still rested down on the mat. Rest the elbows down on the mat. Rest the elbows down. Don't alter your breath, just notice the movement under your palms. Just notice the movement of the chest and the abdomen under your palms. And now, inhale deeply, fill up the chest, fill up the abdomen, hold. Exhale completely, drop the abdomen, drop the chest. Inhale deeply, chest rises, abdomen rises. Exhale completely, both of them fall. Inhale deeply, abdomen and chest rise. Exhale completely, notice the fall. Deepening your breath further, let's do the pranic breathing. Inhale, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2, 3. Exhale, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2, 3. Inhale, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2, 3. Exhale, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2, 3. Expand, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2, 3. Contract, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2, 3. Inhale, 4, 5, 6. And last exhalation, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2, 3. Relax the whole body. Be aware of your toe tips, the feet. Relax the ankles. Relax your entire feet. Relax your calf muscles below the knees. Relaxing the kneecaps, the underside of the knees. Relax your thighs, the lower thighs, the upper thighs. Relaxing your pelvis area. Completely relaxing the hips. Feel the weight of the hips sinking into the mat. Relax the lower back. Your abdomen is light. Relax the chest, shoulders. With every exhalation, you're sinking in deeper. The body is getting heavier. Relax the back of the neck. Gently move it from side to side. Right ear to the right side. Center, left ear to the left side. Center. All your facial muscles are relaxed. Have a gentle, pleasant smile on your face. Relaxing the head. Notice the back head rested on the mat. Taking a deep breath in. Exhaling. My entire body from head to toe is relaxed. It's refreshed, rejuvenated. I am energized. My body is bright. It's full of light. Exhaling, turn to one side. Slight bend in the knees. You can use your arm as a pillow. Gently come up to sitting with your hands in prayer pose. Back is straight, eyes are closed. Let's use this energy. Let's use this knowledge of yoga. Let's use our daily yoga practice or any exercise that we do through the day. Let's take cues from yoga and do it mindfully. so that we can achieve our full potential. And with this, we can transfer it to the world. So we'll end the session with a prayer for world peace, with the energy that we have. Inhale. If you know the mantra, you can chant along. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gently rub your palms, generate some heat. Cup it, placing it on your eyes. Feel the warmth. Feel the warmth. Gently look into your palms. Blink a couple of times and draw in the energy. Thank you everyone for joining me today. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed the session. So what you see on the screen is a yoga class practice that we do every day. So I run these batches from 6:15 to 7:15. There's another batch from 7:30 to 8:30. You can either join for thrice a week or all weekdays. And worst case, if you're not able to join, if you have other commitments, you can always follow me on Instagram and Facebook. These are my handles. And any action that you do through the day, just do it the yogic way, like we just practiced, and you'll be fine. But make sure you get some exercise. Master always speaks about physical fitness. In fact, you would have heard it from our senior teachers like Sumi, Sriram, Raja, all the time, right? The body is the temple of the soul. All right, over to you, Nina.
Thank you, Varsha. That was really nice. So those of you who want to register for the classes, we have a form that needs to be filled. You can get in touch with me, just WhatsApp, and I'll send you the link for that. Also remember that, I remember in one of the classes, Master Hector, is very, very well versed in Hatha Yoga.
Yes, yes.
A lot. So in one of the sessions that I was attending with him, and even when we used to be with him at the ashram, he used to say that, when you practice yoga, so some of us have done, I think, a Hatha Yoga over here. Some of us have done the soul class. If you've not done the soul class, please do the soul class. You know that there are different bodies. You have the etheric body. We do from the basic class, we understand we have the physical etheric body, then we have the emotional body, the mental body, the causal body, and so on and so forth. So when you do exercise, each of these bodies, there is a resistance. Why is it so difficult for us to achieve oneness with the higher soul? Because there's not enough soul energy pouring through the various systems as yet. And there is a resistance, like, when you take birth, you start identifying yourself with the body. The incarnated soul starts identifying itself with the body. And it doesn't want to follow what the higher soul is saying, or the whispers of the higher soul are difficult to hear because you are identifying with the body. So there are different ways of reaching the higher soul. And one of them is union. Of course, yoga means union, like Varsha explained in the beginning, and like Master Choa has also explained so many times. One of the ways of achieving that union is a step-by-step union between the bodies, aligning the different bodies together. So first you have to align your physical and etheric body together. Then the physical, etheric, and the astral body. Then the physical, etheric, astral, mental body. And then eventually the physical, etheric, astral, mental, causal. And that is when it becomes easy to follow the tenets of the soul. Okay, so the way to do that is to practice regular exercise. When you
absolutely, Reena, yeah,
decide to follow the yama and the niyama, the do's and the don'ts, when you discipline your body and say, hey, you're going to listen to me. You're feeling lazy today, but you're still going to get up. You're still going to follow. I will take care of you separately. You follow that routine and you force your body to follow that discipline. then you start achieving one little degree of oneness. And if you can do it, if you've heard Master Choa, if you can do it for a week, you can do it for a month. If you can do it for a month, you can do it for a year.
For a year.
For a year, you will do it for a lifetime. So whether you join these batches, I mean, I've been following, I'd asked, requested Varsha, we'd done a trial class, if you remember, for some of the people from the Adhatic Yoga batch a couple of weeks ago. Then we started these sessions from Monday. We've been following it just for 2 weeks. I really loved it. I used to do yoga as a child and many years ago, and then I had to stop because of a few injuries and my body had become stiff. And I can already see that the body is opening up slowly again. So whether you do it with us, whether you do it somewhere else, just make sure that you do prepare your body. Arhatic yoga practices, pranic healing is not just meditation. There's so much more to it. So,
I'd just like to add something here, Nina. So yeah, of course, yes, Master Hector has been, talking about yoga. I think he has a couple of, courses up on his website as well. And he also, I think, learned under BK Sangar or at his institute in Pune, because he used to travel extensively in Maharashtra, etc. And he really recommends this book, Light on Yoga. Right. And now, since we're Indians, we will relate to this more. What Nina spoke about, the concept of, our auras and different auras that we have. In yoga, we call it the Pancha Kosha Viveka. So koshas are different layers of the aura. The Annamaya Kosha is the body. We're in the physical, so we're working on the body. Pranamaya Kosha is our energy body. Then there's Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. And all of these koshas beautifully integrate. You can start with yoga. So like Nina said, with anybody, please start.
Okay, so I put the form there, and you can have a look at the form and you can try and fill it if you'd like to start. I've really enjoyed the last 2 weeks, and so I'm just loving it. I highly recommend the exercise you do. She takes it very nicely, tuning in to everybody's ability. I'm pretty stiff, I can tell you that. So there are a lot of people who feel, oh, I'm overweight, I'm too stiff, I can't do this. You will get there. You will just get there. Okay. Thanks again, Varsha, for taking out the time. By the way, from the donations that we've received for this session, it was a mandatory donation. I on purpose did not keep it a totally free session. I think we will be sponsoring close to 410 meals, if I'm not wrong. So
wow, thank you so much, everybody.
And so thank you everyone who's donated. I think we will, close to around 410 meals will be what we will be able to sponsor through the Food for Hungry. So thanks again, and have a great weekend. We hope to see you soon. Namaste.
Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks, Nina. Thank you so much for organizing this. I know it takes a lot of effort to, put up those forms. Now that I'm doing the classes, I realize. So everybody, can we just, do a namaste so that we can thank Nina for this amazing effort. And thanks to all of you that were able to tithe what we are able to. Thank you so much. Thank you.